It's one of our biggest threats to our Constitution today. It's called transnationalism, and it means that our Constitution is second to international law. One of the world's leading advocates of transnationalism is Harold Koh, a guy appointed by President Obama to advise our State Department. This is the definition of transnationalism. Transnationalists believe that U.S. courts can and should use their interpretive powers to promote the development of the global legal system, while the nationalists tend to claim that U.S. courts should limit their attention to the development of a national system. Ed, explain how this works. I mean, all the way from, well, let's start with death penalty. Can't have death penalty with a transnationalist, right?
Well, those are Harold Koh's own words that you quoted, and it's even worse than he indicates. What transnationalists like Koh aim to do is use the various mechanisms of so-called international law to override our constitutional system of representative government. Harold Koh has said that based on what's going on abroad, the death penalty ought to be deemed unconstitutional, even though the Constitution plainly presupposes the permissibility of the death penalty.
Hold on just a second. Hang on just a second. Edward, this is not, so I think so Americans can understand it. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, but I think this is the way it works, that if you know how people can't get they can't get you to vote on something. For instance, let's use Proposition 8. Proposition 8, the Californians have voted twice on this, but each time they bring it to the court and kick it up to the court. Well, if they lose in the court and then there's nothing else higher, what transnationalists do is they kick it up one level and it becomes an international issue. And then we just tie into these treaties, so then it doesn't matter what you vote, what the courts say, what Congress says, what the president says. It's an international law, right?
That's right. The ultimate goal is to have a system of rulers who are this elite of transnational lawyers who are completely unaccountable to American citizens.
There are a lot of people, some of whom are now in the Obama administration, who believe that the United States should move into a process of international norming, where we conform our domestic laws to the international consensus, whether it's on death penalty or climate change or gun control, or a whole range of issues. For almost every domestic issue, there's a kind of international counterpart. I think this is fundamentally dangerous, because I think ultimately it takes decision-making away from the people in our constitutional system and puts it into the international arena.
All right. Now, so people understand what this means, because I think people are like, oh, well, you know what, whatever the UN, and when it gets out of control, we'll just unpeg from that. And I don't, personally, I think there are a couple of shows going on. There's the shows that, we all vote and we all go out and we do that thing, and then we're like, wait a minute, these guys aren't meaning what they say, and we think they have the power. But every time somebody tries to pass a law and they don't like the results, then they kick it to the courts. And if the courts don't go their way, then they kick it up to the international law. And you don't just get out of the international law. And that seems to be building some sort of framework that says, oh, you cute little Americans, that's great, you can have your Constitution, but oh, I'm sorry, that part, that disagrees with international law. That becomes fascistic on a global scale, where we answer to them, but they don't answer to us.
Well, here's the basic question, and it really is very interesting to see what politicians say compared to what some of the supporters of these plans do out in the political environment. Do you think that international law is superior to the Constitution or not? This is not an either. It's not a thing where you can say, well, I think they're sort of tied. Either our Constitution is the supreme law on this world, or international law is. I personally think there is no authority on earth superior to the Constitution. That's not what many of these people think.
Oh, well, I have to tell you, I mean, if Great Britain wants to say, hey, we're superior, whatever, I mean, they can say whatever they want. But on our land, we are. On our land, the United States Constitution is supreme, period. It's ours.
Absolutely. And I don't have any trouble with the world where there are 192 member governments in the UN, each of which says, for our purposes, on our territory, our Constitution or our form of government is supreme. The issue is those people, many in Europe, some in the United States, who say above our Constitution there are international norms, international customary law that trump the Constitution.
Next, how we the people can reverse the damage.
Madam Speaker, where specifically does the Constitution grant Congress the authority to enact an individual health insurance mandate?
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Where in the Constitution is the federal government charged with maintaining people's health?
Well, there's not in the Constitution. There's nothing in the Constitution that says the federal government has got anything to do with most of the stuff that we do.
Where in the Constitution?
We are gonna. I don't worry about the Constitution on this, to be honest.
Is your question they can do? Is your answer that they can do anything?
The federal government, yes, can do most anything in this country.
We're talking about the Constitution for an hour tonight, and I hope you've TiVo'd this show or any of the specials that we're doing. But we want to focus here for a few minutes on reversing the damage.
We are close to the exact opposite of what the framers wanted. They wanted a small national government with choice among the states. We have a national government that regulates virtually every aspect of our lives today.
So how do we reverse it?
We shrink the government back into the confines of the Constitution. We abolish the income tax, remove the lifeblood of the federal government's excess, which is cash, remove its ability to tap our pockets whenever it wants, however it wants. At some point, taxation is theft, and the government must understand that.
But you can say that, and I think we're on the same page. You get it because of this book. You can't make that case to the American. Everybody will answer the same. Well, you're never going to do that. You're never going to.
The American people have it within their power to abolish the IRS and to restructure the government.
With one thing.
Education.
The truth.
Correct.
The truth.
Correct.
You have to correct the lie. Once you correct the lie, everything changes.
There's an old one-liner that a nation of sheep breeds a government of wolves. And it's true. When we pliantly accept violations of our natural rights, we embolden the government to violate them even more. The more sheep-like the people are, the more wolf-like the government becomes. When I saw the way people last month around Thanksgiving pliantly accepted regulations imposed upon them by a bureaucracy called the TSA, which basically said, we're going to take a picture of you that looks like pornography and we're going to keep it, or we're going to touch you in ways so offensive that it could arguably constitute a sexual assault. When I saw people accept that in the name of safety, I thought to myself, government propaganda works. I thought to myself, we are becoming a nation of sheep because we are believing the government nonsense that this will keep us safe. When you believe the government that it can keep you safe by invading your natural rights, you'll end up with neither, not liberty or safety. Who will keep us safe from the government?
Did you ever stop to think why "We the People" was written in such big letters at the top of the Constitution? I believe it was some sort of code. Back in a minute. What is the code in the Constitution? It's easy. Do you think that was a font problem that somebody said, hey, scale it down, "We the People," it's too big, it's not all going to fit on a page? No, that was code. They knew that it had to send a message. They knew people would get lost. They wouldn't know the answer. They'd get detached from the Constitution. Jefferson and Adams talked about it in their letters back and forth. So what did they do? They wanted to make a point. Hey, dummy, look, "We the people" is the answer.
I love the way that James Wilson said this. James Wilson, one of the guys who wrote the Constitution, he says, here in America, he says, the people are the masters of government. He says, in Europe, the government is masters of the people. And that's the big deal. We the people was always to remind our elected officials and ourselves that, hey, government's here to serve us. We're not here to serve government.
The real power to change America's course still resides with you. You are the protector of liberty. You are the guardian of freedom. It's not on the people in Washington. Damn it! This is your country. This is my country. They don't surround us. We surround them. A A special thanks, as always, to David Barton. His DVD set, The American Heritage Series, is unbelievable, and it is available at wallbuilders.com. Also, special thanks to Judge Andrew Napolitano. You can watch him on Freedom Watch on the Fox Business Network. From New York, good night, America.